But yeah, how are you doing, man?
Pretty good. Like everybody, during this time, taking things a day at a time, sometimes a moment at a time. But definitely, riding the ups and downs of these times and trying to figure it all out, like everybody else. Um, I too have, been playing music in spurts and taking a break in spurts too, depending on how I'm feeling and depending, it's been a little bit up and down. But honestly, I feel like I've been able to hit a fairly consistent groove with keeping positive. You know what I mean? Within myself and also with the community as a whole. I saw you earlier this week on a call. It was wonderful. And we've been getting together and we've been connecting more with our community. And I think, as leaders of the community, we have to, there's, I feel a sense of responsibility to, call people, send more messages, check on your mom, check on your sister, your brother, whomever, your friend, maybe some friends you haven't reached out to in a long time. It's a good time to rekindle some of those friendships and to just let people hear. I think it goes really a long way.
Yes,
By the way, Sawuji, my friend. On the cocktail hour. I don't know if you made yours yet, but
oh yeah, cheers! I did. Cheers. Yeah, no, cheers. Yeah, it's and I know with the flow, it's important. Like I said, for us to music connects us so much, and that's part of the reason too I'm starting to interview friends, it's so that it's not find the connection, and then every Tuesday I'm here and I can hear how your stories and what you're doing these days. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I know you. I would say would you say I think 2014, 2013, is that when did you come to Austin? Yeah, tell us a little bit, Joshua, because for those of you that are in Brazil or Mexico, we are Joshua is a musician here in Austin, Texas. But tell us a little bit about when you came to Austin, and before Austin, what were you doing?
I came to Austin, and I moved to Austin on Valentine's Day 2008, and I escaped a blizzard driving through the heartland. Anyways, I've been here for 12 years. I'm from Detroit, Michigan originally, and I grew up in a Middle Eastern wave, primarily Middle Eastern, but also there was a lot of Hungarians and Gypsies and Polish folks, and so I grew up in a diverse neighborhood, and my school was 95% Middle Eastern. It's interesting because I've had an experience in my life earlier, and I didn't realize how valuable it was until I went to college and moved out of my neighborhood. But I actually grew up as a minority, being a white male, and that's very rare. And I didn't really understand the value of that until, as time went on. So I'm from. And that's how I started hearing music, being in the tapestry of the Detroit.
Yeah, we may have lost. I think we lost.
So rich.
Oh, there you go.
Go to Earl Saunders and see so many legends of jazz, and so all of this tapestry and these sounds was the foundation for how I got into music.
That is amazing.
Much of my history has informed my music, even being in Texas.
Yeah, I was going to. That was actually going to.
Can you hear me? Because it was cutting out a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, you were cutting out a little bit, but I think we got the gist. Because it was a perfect segue to my next question, because we heard from you. You grew up in Houston. In Detroit, and in an interesting, very diverse background, and that informed your earlier years. And now I wanted to ask you when we start on music, I had a late start in music, but still. I had some people that I looked up to, or there were instrumental teachers. How was that with you in Detroit? Who do you want to give a shout out for people that inspired you when you were just starting out? And why do you think they inspired you, actually?
Well, when I was starting out, I didn't study music. Um, Studied music. I took individual lessons throughout the time I was in college, and I played. I learned at jam sessions. I learned a lot playing in Canada. So I would go across the border and hit up the jazz scene and the funk scene and the fusion scene, and I would get schooled by the titans of the jazz scene in Detroit. So that's how I studying individually. I had many mentors, but one of them was an amazing Jamaican African American guitarist named Mikhail Caldwell, and I actually wrote a story about him not long ago, about meeting him and about a lot of the philosophical lessons of life that he through playing music, and instilling confidence, feeling really good about who you are and what you have to say, and defining the meaning of your artwork, and really identifying the purpose behind these things that we create. And I've been doing a lot of he came to mind because of your question, also because of the political climate, and I was thinking about the people in my life who have informed my journey, and these are people that informed and influenced so many people in not just in Detroit in my mentor's case, but in many places. He traveled the world. He was a traveling touring guitar player. He was also a martial artist, a man by the name of Mikhail Caldwell. So and recently I've been able to connect with some of his people, who I hadn't heard from in a long time. So I do music that has a big Middle Eastern and Turkish foundation. It's definitely informed. I would not say that the music that I make and that I write is Middle Eastern nor Turkish. So you have to be very careful with terminology when describing your work, because you don't want to misrepresent it and disrespect other people who in the lineage of these art forms, right? So I would never say that I'm a Middle Eastern or Turkish, even musician. Even though I play this music, I don't consider myself. I consider myself a jazz musician, So all of the things that in my experiences being in Detroit, growing up in Dearborn, Michigan, where I'm from, the suburb and the ethnic enclave of Detroit. It was one of the first suburbs of Detroit. And it had a it's like a suburb. It's pretty urban feel, I mean, it was based on like definitions of suburbs, I would say. So, it's pretty interesting behind people over these years that have really given me the vehicle to explore music creatively in the way that I do, and maybe you feel this way too, Freddy. I don't know. And I have a question for you. When you left Brazil, did you feel that you were deeper attached to your Brazilian roots?
That's a good question.
By not being there.
Yes, I very much. I got deeper into studying Brazilian music when I left Brazil. Well, to be fair, I got deeper into studying music in general at age 18, 19, 20. And so when I say, I had a lot of friends that started playing music at age 13, 14, playing heavy metal. I was writing. I would always write, and I was the writer, and then eventually I started to sing, and then so forth. But when I started to really work on music, you're absolutely right. I was in Southwestern University here in Texas, and I started to really look back and look at the roots of Brazilian music in a deeper anthropological way. And also, it's kind of like it's a way that I'm missing my country so much, and I'm all the way here up, and it's kind of like from afar, looking at what's happening in the Brazilian music scene and so forth. And I would say that overall, because of being in Austin, Texas, where we have a radio station and some radio DJs like Michael Crockett that plays Brazilian music on a weekly basis. We have other radios like a Co-op and KVRX and other folks that play music outside of the box. And then having South by Southwest happening once a year in town. Throughout all of these years, every year the South by happens, I am meeting Brazilian artists who are at the forefront of what they're doing, right? So for me, being in Austin, I definitely learned a lot about Brazilian music. Even though I haven't been in Brazil, I've been lucky to work with some top players. Some of those, like Sergio Yazbek, who's the guitar player for Cidade Negra. Any Brazilian watching this knows Cidade Negra reggae band. So I was playing with Sergio and still play with him. And many other people that have come to Austin from Brazil. So I have learned a lot about Brazilian music being outside of Brazil, and also the fact that we have these festivals that these Brazilian artists are coming every year here, once a year, right? But I definitely see this parallel with you. And the next question that I kind of want to ask goes into, you're talking about artistic expression. So a lot of people know that you play the saxophone, but some people still don't. And I want to give a shout to Lobo Corona watching us from Mexico City, and Amgilia,
Lobo,
and Everett and Amber and Ramana as well. So I want to give a shout to some folks. But so Joshua, why the saxophone? What's up with the saxophone? Because I hear now, I understand a little bit why you play fusion of jazz and Middle Eastern music. I see it in the Detroit background and your human interactions. But why the saxophone?
well,
why not, right?
well, I mean, I've been playing since I was 9 years old, and it was just sort of one of these things where, you're young, you see an instrument, you're curious, you try it, and it's like just the type of thing where you just know you want to play this instrument, at a young age. I can't really explain it. I saw the saxophone, I wanted to play it. But I mean, beyond that, I mean, I'm very curious with music, I'm curious. And that's, a lot of people, they ask me, well, why don't you play other instruments? And I love other instruments. And I do play, some flutes and some woodwinds and different things. I experiment with different things, I've been playing this Chinese flute called the Halusi for a little while. So,
Nice.
but, why don't you play other instruments? For me, the saxophone gives me a lot of room for exploring music in a lot of different ways. And everyone has their own personal relationship with an instrument or instruments or with music in general, regardless of whether or not they're a classical musician or a blues musician or a Brazilian musician or, they play klezmer music, they play the bagpipes or whatever, right? Whatever genre, everyone has a different. And that's the beauty of music. We can all have different relationships with music. We're not defined or restricted by music. Music is very accepting and very giving if you allow it to be, and there's a lot of different versions for doing things. And for me personally, learn to use this instrument as my own personal vehicle of exploration and expression. But, I love, because, and I'm lucky because my instrument is found in all kinds of music. I can play with you. I can play a gig with you. I can play a gig in an orchestra. I can play a gig. I can learn gypsy jazz and play that. I can play it in African music. I can play the saxophone in East Asian settings. They love saxophone in China and in Korea and Japan. And so I'm lucky that I play an instrument that is found worldwide. And it allows me to participate in the things that I'm interested in participating in, which is a lot, because I love music. I love the differences in music and the commonalities and learning from people and not only just from the actual music that people make, but their stories, their traditions, who they are, what these things represent to them, and then learning, and then sharing our differences, embracing multiculturalism. But to travel, no secret. If you know anybody who knows me, I love to travel, and I love that part of music is the connection with people and being surprised and learning something, and I feel like now through a lot of the work, and I know Freddy, you also touring and living in multiple countries, these experiences and the music that we've made and the people that we know, I think the are extremely relevant now, because in some ways I feel very isolated, but in some ways I feel very connected, because my WhatsApp is blowing up from people in Spain or friends, and I have, a good friend of mine, Marco Saragrande, who recorded. He's in Rio. I met him in China a year and a half ago, and we converse very frequently. And actually, he knows Sergio.
Oh, cool.
Because there's a trumpet player, Leandro, and he lives in San Francisco, and they're all connected. They used to tour together. So, these are amazing. I go out that are connected. Full as that, for me, all the struggle, really worth it. And it's a great time for you and I in our community to really focus on how do we make these organic connections that have already happened. There's already a lot of sweat in the game. We've already leveraged a lot of things. We're doing a lot of things. What is our message and what does that mean? We all have answers maybe, but it's a great time to build these coalitions between our communities, both in Texas, in the U.S., and abroad, of course. That's what I think.
That's so true, and this is perfect, because what I got two more questions for you, and the next thing that I actually want to talk about ties exactly on what you were saying. As a lot of people are having a hard time right now, financially, emotionally, both in different ways. So I just want to make it clear: it's not just musicians or freelancers. There's a lot of people. But we know what we know, right? So as an artist, even before COVID and before all of this, I know that the streams of revenue and ways to get diverse music out, it's it's not that easy to play music that is not mainstream. So I wanted to ask you a little bit, as the world artist that you are. When I say world, I mean jazz, I mean everything. What are the things that you are doing these days with your bands, the different bands that you have? You can talk a little bit about what is the music that you're working on right now, and any other initiative that how does that music ties to the community. So yeah, if you want to just share a little bit what's going on with your music in the last month.
Freddy, I completely lost you on that question, man.
Oh, yes.
No
Problem.
Rough, if you can hear.
No problem. My question was, what are you doing these days? With your bands, like with your music in this time that we are in the house. Oh, can you hear me now?
Frederick, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, now I think we're good now. So my question was, what are you doing these days with your music, and how is that tying to your community?
Frederick, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So hi guys. So I removed Josh for a second. He's getting. Let me see if I'm gonna bring him back. Hello there. Can you hear me, Joshua? Hi. Can you hear us?
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, repeat your question. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's fine. So my question was, what you're doing these days with your music, these days to connect with your community, with even though you're in your house?
Yeah, I'm home and playing a lot of music. Yeah, I mean, so I didn't hear the entirety of your question, but I think I know where you're going with this. So I'm going to say this. And
Yeah.
creative kind of energy that I've had with the music. One of the things, actually, the beginning of the pandemic, I released a song with Atlas Mayor. It was a video. Actually, we haven't released this. Recently released on the compilation. No More Austin Musicians for Transformative Justice that you contributed to with Exotico Americano. So yeah, we've had this collaboration stretching back with Mr. Ali Pervez Mehdi, and he is from this lineage of, well, his father is this very well renowned Pakistani vocalist in the ghazal tradition, which is a ballad-like song. It's often based on Sufi poetry, arrangement of one of his father's tunes called Nazuk. So Ali has already released it. We are going to be releasing it ourselves later this year. We also wrote another song for Ali to sing on that we have yet to release, as well as new material that has not. To answer your, although it's been challenging to compose with the way we're used to composing, we have been composing quite a bit, and we've made some pivots, as they're saying in the world now. And it's kind of up and down. We had some really great momentum, and then we're but I think is the songwriting process is actually probably more consistent, fluid now than it would be if we were not under quarantine, just because of the time. And I think because of the time, we're able to put more thought into the music, not to be an upgrade in quality before, but into what I was saying originally. What is the meaning of this work?
Yeah.
What does it mean? So we've been doing a lot of like philosophical introspection and letting that come out through the music more, in a different way that we would have done had we not this time. That's good. I think that it's a process. As always, it's a process. But I am happy and I'm really good. I feel really. I feel like even at times when things are maybe going slower than I would like, I feel like that time is being used not in a wasteful way, but in a really deep way. And we're having conversations, and half of we have been doing strip down, man. So we've kind of formed the. I have other musicians who are not performing out at all, which is totally fine. I mean, most people are not. I mean, well, none of us are. Well, what I mean is not like really just not even doing anything, and they have a lot of for that. And this time, for me, every reason is a.
Yes, I hear every.
Because I have not been around them. We've been careful, but it's been interesting. And I think in general we're getting some good results out of the experience. And I don't know how you feel, but like for me, it's such a therapeutic thing to be able to do that, and it's I couldn't imagine not doing that right now. You know what I mean?
Oh no, very much so. I think right before you came in, I played a little video that I recorded this weekend, and I needed to spend a day just doing music. You know what I'm saying? So I hear you. You know, it's healing for us as well, and in a different
For
way that
sure.
we're having to work in a different way. And it will be interesting to see all this music coming out next year. You know, after hopefully this pandemic will be over. Will be interesting to see what everybody is doing in their studios and so forth. But Joshua, I had so much fun just catching up with you for a moment. I do have a video that you made available for us that we're going to watch in a little bit, and I believe that's the video that has Ali Pervez, correct? Yes, yeah.
Ali
So
Pervez, and Ali Pervez
yeah,
Mehdi.
yeah. So that's
Dallas right now. He actually got west. He was here. I was flying to Chicago with him to do this gig at 5 in the morning, and it got canceled. And now he's been time, but coming together slowly.
No, but it's amazing to have, like, you know, working with musicians from Pakistan.
Check out Nazak. Yeah, check out Nazak. Reggie, I'm having a hard time hearing you with the connection, so I'm just gonna say goodbye now.
That sounds
I love
great.
you.
So we're gonna say goodbye to you.
You know.
So bye, Joshua. It's been so great to have you. And you guys have a Sunday, I believe. Atlas Mayor is Joshua's band. You guys can check it out. The Atlas Mayor page is MAIOR.
Yeah,
I'll write it here in a little bit.
Yeah.
And as you tune in on Sunday, I believe you guys have a live stream coming up. I'm going to tune in and check it out. So thank you so much. And Joshua, I'm going to play right now y'all's video. So thank you so much for being with us, man. Much love to you, to Liliana, and I'll catch up with you probably
sure.
later this week. All right, guys. So I'm going to...
Go for it. Thank you so much, brother. Enjoy.
Oh, man.
You sound great, by the way. You sound great, brother. I'm loving the live stream.
Just having a good time, man. Thank you so much. Take care. And here he goes, Ali Pervez Mehdi and Atlas Mayor,
Take care.
Video premiere of Nazuk. Thank you.